I like to hear the stories from the pilots who flew those birds while people are jumping out, because some of those pilots are absolutely hilarious. And I've heard some stories about they're coming over the drop zone, they're off a little bit, and they hear over the intercom, are we good? And they're like, I don't want a racetrack, so yeah, we're good. Green light. People are jumping out. And I heard that from an actual C-130 pilot who is playing golf on Selfridge Air National Guard Base golf course. And at the end of the conversation, he told me he actually flew one of the C-130s that I jumped out of in Panama. That's where I found out that we jumped at 435 feet, not 500 feet.
Oh, shit.
Because they were trying to get underneath basically an umbrella of anti-aircraft fire. And, the bird I was on had fire coming off one of the engines, and there was a couple tracers bouncing around inside the actual cabin. So it was quite exhilarating, to say the least.
Nice. Well, pilots, right?
Well, they're just like anyone else.
Yeah, usually when you're jumping out of a plane, that extra, 80 or so feet matters.
Well, 500 feet is supposedly the bare minimum. But apparently they were getting chatter from some of the other birds that were running security for them, that there was ZS-23 2s and 23 4s that were putting up all kinds of, anti-aircraft fire. That's a 20 millimeter cannon. All right. Now, the ZS-23-4 has 4 barrels. The 2 has 2 barrels. And if I recall, when the sun came up and they all ran off, we had captured 14 23-4s and like another 20 23-2 anti-aircraft artillery shit. I mean, that's bad. Hopefully, and I know. Listen, those pilots are probably like, "Fuck this! I'm not racetracking." They're out. Yeah. See you later.
Yep.
So who knows? That might actually, maybe that even saved your life too. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do to make it happen.
Now, Skid, when you're flying fighter pilots, do you actually have to intercept anyone for real, or was it all just?
No, not for real. Although I was there for September 11th, that was all manner of fun.
What happened on that day?
Oh, a couple of guys, 4 guys decided to try and fly into buildings, but yeah, it was a real gong show, that's for sure. We went from, I remember one thing that was kind of funny. Of course, Canada, as you're well aware, isn't really meeting any of its commitments anywhere, so we're always stretching things. And I remember talking to my deputy commander going, well, if we do a training mission today, we can't really make our NORAD commitments because we'll run out of hours, in case we get scrambled. He says, and I swear to God, this was on September 10th. Don't worry, we never get scrambled for NORAD.
There we go.
And there it is.
That changed.
You got scrambled for NORAD the next day.
Yes. Oh, did we ever? Yes. And in fact, of course, everybody's is, it's like the hornet's nest goes up and all that. And so a couple of my buddies deployed immediately. We were in Cold Lake and they deployed immediately to the West Coast in Comox. And when they took off, every other airplane was on the ground. So usually if you have an IFR clearance, means to be able to fly in cloud, they have to turn you, whatever way and fly whatever airway. But this time ATC just said, yep, do whatever you want. Sky's yours. First time that happened.
Yeah. Listen, man, the pucker factor will turn up some shit, let me tell you. Okay.
Well, the thing that concerned me the most at that point was our poor radios. I mean, think about it. You're lining up behind somebody that you're about to end 300 civilians just because someone says that they need to shoot down that airline. Before you're going to take the kill shot, you got to get authentication. And that authentication is probably going to come from the prime minister because that's a real big deal. And it's just like, if you can't, great. Now what? So that's all kinds of fun. I'm sure you got to deal with all kinds of radio issues yourself.
Bad commo? No, that never happens.
So in other words, you gentlemen are saying the people that make the drive-through microphones are the ones that work on military microphones.
I think so.
comms?
I
mean,
Let's
I
just
wouldn't
say
be
that
surprised.
the lowest bidder wins the contract, right?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Now, when
yeah.
I went to Iraq, I brought an iridium. Well, actually, I didn't bring it. I had my now ex-wife mail it to me because I was ordered not to bring it. But he didn't say anything about it being mailed after the fact. So I had my own satellite phone because I am not gonna like put my life in the hands of a bunch of commo equipment that may or may not work. The satellite phone worked really good. And what I would do is I traveled to Victory quite a few times. And I became friends with the Paladin, which is mobile artillery unit. And I had all 6 of their satellite phone numbers just in case while I'm at Abu Ghraib or getting overrun, I could call in indirect fire. And my commander caught me on the roof of our prison block. And I was actually talking to the Paladins, and they were firing smoke rounds at TRPs just to make sure we were good to go. Because a TRP is a target reference point. They pick it on the map, and then they basically you need an observer to guide in the round so they know exactly where they are, where they're hitting, and they have their settings on their cannons. So if shit goes down, you can say, hey, I need a shift fire from TRP 1, 2, or whatever they call it, and guide the rounds in. I mean, that's how it used to work. Now everything's laser guided and whiz bang special, but that only will probably last for so long until you have to do things the old way.
Yep.
But yeah, I got yelled at, and the only reason I didn't get fucked up is I'm like, hey, she mailed it to me. What do you want me to say? So it is what it is.
It's really good to have friends who can drop high explosive where you want it to be.
Fuck yeah, and
Yeah,
there was a
those are
couple
good friends.
times, I had to call in Apaches to do some dirty work, and
Nice.
well, you say that until you actually see firsthand what happens to human beings who are like hit with the Apache shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, especially if you have to go out there and like scan their retinas and do fingerprints on the dead bodies. That was the zombie mission. I had to do quite a few of those. But yeah, that is serious business, man. I literally watched a whole convoy of Hajis that were, basically lining up to attack the prison, and they had like 14 vehicles, probably, a good 150, 200 dudes. And they started off their attack with 2 car bombs. One actually got fairly close to the wall. The other one didn't. And by the time the car bombs went off, the Apaches were in the air, and it was just savage. Wow. And,
Spaghetti, anyone?
it's like in the movies when people turn into red spray and bits of meat. That's exactly what happened.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Popp for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.